And greetings to everybody here. It's such a pleasure and an honor to be here. So, I am Esther Ofori Boadu from Ghana. I am into livestock farming now. I have a little over 5 years' experience in farming in general. I've done vegetables, I've done poultry, I've done rabbits, I've done greenhouse, and now I'm into cattle farming. And so I farm, take care of cattle. I have a feedlot, and my focus is producing tender, juicy, tasty beef here in Ghana. And so we are Freshly's Farms located in Sege off the Adan Road. And what we do is to produce beef when we plant grass and maize for our cattle, feed them. When they're ready, we slaughter, we dress and package and sell to hotels, shops, and restaurants and individuals alike. I am, like you said, about 40% of the African population is young. And so we have a very young population, and that alone is an opportunity because a lot of youth these days are into farming, into doing things for themselves. And farming is actually for the young at heart because farming keeps you young. And we have a lot of arable land in Africa, and that is an opportunity in itself. Me, taking my journey, for example, I did absolutely nothing in Agric. I did law and I did economics, and law and economics have guided me in my path. I saw an opportunity. I needed kale, locally grown kale, so badly. And all the kale that I saw on the markets were imported. And I was like, really, with all the land around us, we cannot grow kale? And that's where my journey began. The opportunity I saw growing kale. And I shared my kale with my family members. Hey, look, I did this here from my backyard. And everybody just loved the idea of having fresh vegetables. And that was the birth of Freshly's. And that is the opportunity that is available. That we are all young, we want fresh food that we are actually growing here, not imported. And there's so much land around us. And there are a lot of young people with energy to do farming. Now, to what Slay Farmer was saying, farming is not just about getting your hands dirty. It's about the economics. It's about scalability. It's about planning. It's about precision. It's about negotiating. Because at a point when I had a lot of produce to sell, I needed to go to the shop. I needed to negotiate my way through. It's about striking deals. It's about proportions. Because when you're using your fertilizers, what proportions to use at what time, it goes way beyond hoe and cutlass. And that's where the youth come in. Because now the youth is into a lot of technology, and that's the opportunity. Because technology allows you for precision farming, for using apps, for making things easier than what our parents and our forefathers used to do. And so there alone, there goes the opportunity. The opportunity to use technology to advance, to scale easily, and also the ability to use what you learned in school. So your finance, your economics, your law, everything comes into farming. It goes way beyond breaking the ground, way beyond grazing around with cattle. Now you are able to use what you learn, apply to Agric, and there you go. And with the increasing population, so is our demand for food, not just for the food we already had before, but then even our variety is changing. The kind of food we eat now. Before, we wouldn't really care where our beef came from, whether the beef was hard or not. But now, when I want beef that is tender, that is juicy. So there's an opportunity. How can I produce beef that is different, that is a little bit tender? I don't need to cook for so long. And so even the chemists, the labs, they all get into it. So agriculture is definitely growing beyond what we thought it to be, growing beyond the usual hoe and cutlass. Now it's expanding. I don't only grow maize for consumption amongst humans, but I grow maize for my animals as well. It's cutting across, and there alone is the opportunity. And I think that the youth need to be empowered more. The youth now want to do things for themselves. And that is an opportunity. How do I make something for myself using Agric? And so you have people who are buying, like Slade Queen said, buying from other farmers to process. And that also is Agric. And so once we are empowering our youth to start to do things for themselves, to start to look at these opportunities and grow beyond the usual, introduce technology to advance, to scale, to start to attract funding from the government, from other nations that have done it better. I was in the Netherlands a couple of months ago just to see how they do their cattle farming. And I was amazed because we are totally not looking at the future. We are not looking at making it easy. And so there were so many things that we could learn from them and introduce into our farming so that as I sit here, I don't look like a cattle farmer in any way, but I am actually doing cattle farming. And so that is where the opportunity is. And once we start to empower our youth, and get the mindset to change beyond getting your hands dirty and doing it in ways that doesn't make you look that dirty. And seeing it is everything but easy to do business in Africa and to do farming, and specifically livestock farming, especially being a female, because it's a very male-dominated area. It's not been an easy journey at all. But then one thing about me is I love to bring innovation, to make things different, to do things differently, and to literally bring innovation into what I do. And that is what has kept me. Now, in livestock farming, frankly, I don't think we're really doing livestock farming in Ghana, because we're just grazing our animals. Literally, they go out, whatever they get, they eat. It's more of a store of value. So I have some 5,000 cedis. I don't want to keep it in the bank. Okay, I buy an animal and then it starts to reproduce. We are not intentionally farming these livestock. They're grazing for so long, they get some food, they eat. Dry periods is even worse. Now, what excited me about this industry is the fact that I could do something differently. I could do something differently because I see a lot of opportunities that these farmers do not see. I see opportunity to grow the feed for the animals and to be intentional about getting them to gain weight, getting them to eat the right kind of feed that will make their meat juicier, tender, flavorful, and more tasty for you and I. Most importantly, I saw an opportunity to make impact. And so usually during the dry periods, you realize that most of these farmers need to sell their animals. And so who do they sell to? Well, then I'm here. Sell to me, and you're selling to me, so I add value. Now, what we don't do much with Agric is that we don't add much value. Whatever we get, we put it out there at the least value, and that's where I come in. We need to learn to add value to what we're doing. And so I add value by growing the feed for the animals, taking much care of them, giving them the feed that they need to eat, making sure they gain more weight. That way I'm able to produce more value to other people on the value chain. Now, most of our restaurants have to import meat, beef, into the country because the quality of our beef is not that good. It's chewy, it's hard. After eating, you have to pick your teeth. We have land. We have lots of land. We can grow our maize, we can grow brachiaria, we can grow alfalfa, we can put our feedlots and be intentional about adding value to the animals that we are grazing. And so that's where we're coming. And it's been a very difficult journey because it's quite capital intensive. Even getting the land to start the business took several months. You think you're near getting the land, and then another family member comes and says, no, this land is for me. And then a whole discussion starts. It took us over a year to get the land. Even though the land is there, access to the land is a problem. And that alone is a barrier. It makes it difficult for people to want to go into the whole agric industry. So you get the land, and then there comes the capital, because you need to put up structures. You want to do things differently. And that is my passion. I don't want to do things like my grandfather used to do it. Otherwise, we're not moving forward. And for me, especially in the area I started my farming, so the chiefs came around and they were asking, why don't you let the animals out? Why don't you let them graze? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? And that was an opportunity for me to actually start a training session, because they do not understand why I need to add value to the animal. These farmers are doing things like they used to several years ago, but the world has moved and they need to learn to do things differently. They need to learn to administer medications differently. They need to learn to pay attention to the animals a little differently. And for them, it's just about, hey, they're animals, let them go. Oh, one looks unwell, looks like it might die. Call the butcher, let's slaughter the animal. Where does the animal go? On the market table. It's so bad. And that is where I feel that we, the young people, who are being trained, who are going to school, who are learning a lot, we need to bring the education that we have into farming so that what we're eating is wholesome. We need to change how farming is being done. And so we started to have a conversation with the farmers in the area that these are reasons why you need to get a vet. You need to invest in learning how to administer medications. You need to be intentional, basically. And the journey has been eye-opening, I must say. And so when I go to the market, I'm concerned where the beef is coming from, because really, it's just beef that would have died and was prevented from dying. Wow. And we need to be concerned about. In my vegetable farming, that was the experience I had. And I realized that most people bought my vegetables not only because they needed vegetables, but then they were guaranteed of some wholesomeness. And so in my vegetable farming, the area, all the people, the other farmers around me, I had to engage them, the right chemicals to use, at what time to sell your vegetables after you've used a certain chemical, because that literacy is missing, it's completely lost. All they care about is that their produce is ready and is supposed to be on the market. And so that assistance that the farmer needs to be able to do things the right way. And so they ask, why are you able to put your produce on the shelves and I can't? Well, you can't because you're not meeting certain compliance regulations. You are not doing things like you should. So these farmers need to be taught. And it was exciting for me to help such farmers go beyond their regular market women into shops, because they started to follow the regulations, they started to be compliant, they started to understand what chemicals do on their vegetables. And that actually has kept me going. The fact that I am able to influence a small space around me to do the right things and to be able to get them to see farming as a business, not just hand to mouth. Okay, so after feeding my family, there's a little left, so I sell to the market woman. But how can I make it a real sustainable business? How do I get other people involved so that beyond me, the business grows? And that is the most exciting part of agriculture for me. The fact that I see it grow beyond the regular farming. I see it grow into. Okay, thank you. It's been a very interesting discussion. And one thing that I'd like for us to take away is that the future is actually here. We can't wait for somebody else to take us there and to do what needs to be done. We need to start from today. And we need to start recognizing agriculture as a sustainable business. And we need to start to bring all the elements together to make it work. We need to start to add value to what we do. And that is what can make us grow as a people, as a continent. It's painful to see us struggle through farming, see our great-grandparents, our parents struggle through it, and we can't continue to struggle through it. For me, what drives me is making agric grow, growing it into a business, expanding the shores, bringing innovation, bringing education. And one thing I want to do is to be a model farmer, because most of our young people want to see someone who has thrived, who has succeeded at it, who is making money, wants to see a Dangote in the agric sector. And that is what I am striving to do. And so even as different professionals who are now trying to go into agric, I see a lot of my colleagues trying to go into agric one way or the other. Let's leave the subsistence farming and bring all our knowledge into it. Treat it as a business, register it, check the regulations, do your compliance, do your analysis, do everything, do your market, do things according to the book, so that you're starting a business, growing it to last beyond you. And this business is in agribusiness. That's what I want us to come to terms with. Let's stop the buying and selling. Wow. Let's bring processing, value addition to agric. And that is when we start to grow as a people. When we start to process, we start to add more value. Then we can demand more money for what we are putting out. Until you add value, you are not getting that much money. People pay you for what you give them. And so give them value. Find how to get value. Add that value to what you're doing and present that value to them with all the education that you have. Don't do it like your mom used to. Don't do it like your dad used to. Add value to what you're doing and bring others along. Carry people along with you. Train other people. Make it open for people to come. My farm is open for you to visit.